I played Chien-Pao to the Pittsburgh Regional Championships, getting top 256 out of around 1,700 players. Today I'm going to go over the list that I use and the specific cards that went in it. If you want more of a conceptual overview of the deck and sort of how every single match played out, go ahead and watch my Pittsburgh vlog. I pretty much explained every match in detail right after it happened. All right, so let's hop into PTCG Live to take a look at this list. So we start off with 3 Chien-Pao EX. This is just a bread and butter of the deck. You always want this guy in the active. If not to Hailblade, then to Shivery Chill. All right, so that one's pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the Baxcalibur line. 3 of the 60 HP Frigibax. Why 3 to 60 HP? There is a 70 HP Frigibax. Why not the 70 HP Frigibax, you may ask? Well, if you look in the corner here, you'll see these 2 little things next to retreat. Yeah, it has 2 retreat. And so if you start with this, you cannot Shivery Chill on your first turn if you have an energy in your hand. And if you're not able to Shivery Chill, the deck just falls apart because you're not able to conceal cards. You're not able to get energies in your hand. Like, you're just not really doing what you need to do. The reason I actually did consider a 70 HP Frigibax was for Urshifu and Teleon. And so a common like lose con against Urshi Intel is if they go first and then turn 2, they get Medicham on the 60 HP Frigibax. They take an extra turn, and then all they need is to double gunner that 60 HP Frigibax. And then you're left with like no Frigibax, and it's really bad. The idea was that you don't like immediately fold to Intel Urshi. You also have this down against like Lost Box if you're trying to establish another Baxcalibur. That way they can't kill like this and the Pidgey, or this and another Frigibax, for example. And so the reason I'm not concerned about either of those is in Intel Urshi's case, they're always going to be going for the Manaphy because they need to Urshifu attack. And this is something I didn't really know going into the regionals. Like, I didn't super know how the deck worked. Their game plan is, even if you do have a Baxcalibur, it doesn't matter to them. They're going to double gunner it. They're going to Medicham, kill your Manaphy, and then they're going to Urshifu and then kill Baxcalibur and whatever Frigibax you have out. It doesn't matter if it's a 60 or the 70. Now, it might have been nice because I was always like scared to bench the Pidgey, which I'll talk about, because of the threat of Sableye 6060, especially against Tino, where they run like boss and like very, just beefy attackers. They can totally deal with the Baxcalibur. They can totally boss kill the Baxcalibur, so you need to have the Frigibax, which means you can't really have the Pidgey and another Frigibax, and so that kind of makes it awkward. So maybe moving forward, like 170 HP Frigibax would not be the worst thing in the world. But like, I was just going for consistency in this list for Pittsburgh. And so just 3 of these was just having the active retreat. All right, so enough Frigibax talk. We have 3 Baxcalibur. So a lot of lists run 2 Baxcalibur. I like 3 because if you prize one and then they boss kill, you lose. Like, you can run super odd, right? And then get it back in. It's just there's a lot to ask for, in my opinion. Another reason we run 3 Baxcalibur is so you don't have to Irida for it, and then you can Irida for like Frigibax, or like another Chien-Pao or Greninja, or like whatever you need. And so you can, and this is on like your turn 2 Irida when you're getting rare candy backs. Instead of grabbing backs, you can grab something else to help you set up for later in the game. So yeah, moving on to the rest of the Pokemon, the main thing is the 202 Pidgeot EX line. So Pidgeot EX has that quick search ability. You can search your deck for a card and then put it in your hand. So as you may notice, I don't run any Bibarel in this list, and I'm going strictly with the Pidgeot. And so the reason for the Pidgeot is going into a 9-round regional best of 3, I want to have control of a lot of my games. There's a lot of variance. You don't know what matchups you're going to hit. You don't know how your draws are going to be. I want Pidgeot to always be by my side and have my back when I need him. Bibarel is like you can draw until you have 5, and it's great if you have multiple out, and you will probably get what you want. But I've just notoriously just not drawn too hot with this deck. Even when I ran like research and stuff like that, you dump your hand, you draw 7. Maybe only one of the cards is desirable, right? Because there's so many water energies, there's so many Pokemon, there's so many like weird dead cards in this deck. And Pidgeot just lets you sift through all that garbage and only find exactly what you need at every point in time. So we went with the 202 line just for max consistency. Like, I always want this thing in my hand. I found with the 101, you first of all can prize one of the pieces. It's statistically only like going to happen 1 out of every 5 games. But at a regionals, you're playing like factor of like 10, 15, 20 plus games, right? So I just really want to be able to always have access to this. And always have like a Pidgeot EX in hand, for example, because if I have an Irida, I can grab Rare Candy Bax, I can Rare Candy to Pidgeot, Pidgeot for another Rare Candy Bax, and suddenly I'm just all set up and ready to go for essentially the rest of the game. I can just always get what I want. So like, again, personal preference. If you like ripping through your deck with Bib, go at it. But this is just like, again, personal like play style. It's also like not horrible because it has free retreat. You can just throw it up, and then depending on your top deck, you can go for one of a few different plays. But yeah, this is gonna shape like how the rest of the deck is formed. So very important. One Radiant Greninja, because just like concealed cards broken. It just makes the deck. If this wasn't in here, I wouldn't play Chien-Pao. One Manaphy, because you just need this guy. It does kind of clog your bench a little bit. So I notice a lot of games I get out Manaphy that I actually don't have room for the Pidgeot. But if I have a Lumineon and I need Manaphy for the matchup, a lot of times I can't even get out the Pidgeot, which is a little bit of a flaw of the Pidgeot engine, because you do need the like Baxcalibur and another Frigibax. And if you're trying to get Pidgeot, you need a Pidgeot, and then you need a Manaphy, and then you have your Greninja, your Lumineon. Like eventually you're like, where's my Chien-Pao slide? Like you obviously need a Chien-Pao. It's just kind of awkward a lot of the time. Not to say Manaphy shouldn't be in the deck. Obviously it should. You just do have to be mindful of that when playing like the Pidgeot version. Moving on to the trainer line, let's start off with the supporters. So for Irida, I'm like, this card is broken. Again, it makes the deck work. You can get like POW SCR late game. You can get Bax Rare Candy early game. You can get like Bax SCR. You can get like Escape Rope when you need. You can get Lost Vacuum when you need. Pretty much anything that you need at any point in the game, you can get it with Irida. For the other supporters, I have 3 Boss's Orders. So notably, I'm running heavy Boss instead of Cross Switchers. And so the reason for this is Cross Switchers, I usually prize one, right? Like you always usually prize one, or you can't find one. So if I have Cross Switchers, on average, I'm going to expect to use the Boss's Orders effect 1 or 2 times. And so when we think about like efficiency and deck building, that's not very efficient. Like 4 cards for 2 Gust effects. The Gust effect is I'm bringing up something for the kill. And so Cross Switchers is a great way to just say, hey, I'm not going to let you do anything because I'm going to Pokestop into these Cross Switchers, and I'm going to Cross Switcher Clone your Manaphy and just kill stuff right away. Like you can't even respond to it because I'm using Irida, I'm using Pokestop to find all of these pieces because I don't need to wait a turn to play boss. And so that's the advantage of Cross Switchers, is you can just steal games like that. You can just, go first, and then turn 2, you can get like Irida Rare Candy Bax, Cross Switcher, something on the bench. Like that's actually pretty common. And so I'm taking the more slow and steady approach here. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to sacrifice the ability to do that on turn 2 of the game, which does win games, I will admit, for the heavy Boss's Orders. And the reason for this is, in addition to taking up less cards in your deck for having more effects, you're just always going to be able to draw into it at the right time. Like, so Chien-Pao is, with the Hailblade attack, like, it could do a lot of damage. It can also do like 60. It can also do 120. If you whiff a turn 2 Baxcalibur, you can use Boss's Orders to pull up something like their Frigibax, the Remoraid and Urshiental, or Ralts. You can use Boss's Orders to get advantage in the matchup, even if you don't have the Baxcalibur in play. And this doesn't come up a whole lot, but it is worth noting. It's mainly just the odds of drawing into it because, like I said, this deck has a lot of cards that don't really do anything, with Irida being really the only, like, good card in this deck. You're not really, like, having multiple Lumineons. You're using, like, Pidgeot a lot, and so it's very, like, nitpicky. And when I need boss, and I want to make sure it's in my hand. So that is why we run 3. 1 Iono, because this card is just ridiculous. You can just win games by playing this at the end. It's not stellar by any means, but you don't play Irida every turn of the game, so it's nice to have an extra supporter or 2. For the last supporter, I have Cynthia's Ambition. So this one was really interesting. So it says draw cards until you have 5 in hand, but if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, draw cards until you have 8 in hand instead. So at NAIC, I played Professor's Research in this deck. And a lot of times when I played Professor's Research, I ran out of resources, right? I ran out of SCRs. I literally ran out of energies to Chien-Pao. Like if I was being super aggressive, which I was, and blowing up stuff in the face, A research away like one SCR was like a massive deal because that's 4 energies I can't get, right? If I have 2 cards in my hand, one of them being research and an SCR, I can't superior energy retrieval because I don't have 2 cards in my hand. And so draw until 8 is just like a really good effect. The problem is this card is just not good. It's just not good. I'm sorry. It's honestly just like this Hail Mary against like Mew, against like anything that can just like kill super fast. But if I'm being honest, what's the 8 cards going to get you? It might get you a superior energy retrieval. It might get you something. I played it a few times, was able to take a knockout against Mew, but it just did not do enough. I think I played it down like 3 or 4 times during all my games in Pittsburgh. So moving on to the item cards, 4 battle VIP pass, because this card is just filthy broken. We need to play as many as we can. 3 Ultra Ball, because this card's really good, even though multiple in your hand aren't very good. Being able to target whatever you want, whether that be a basic, a Baxcalibur, a Luminion, so you can bench it, is really, really solid. It also is really good with like Pidgeot. You can Ultra Ball for Pidgeot, Rare Candy for Pidgeot, because you can't Irida for the Pidgeot. So Ultra Ball is really your only out to that. 2 Nest Ball, because you only need 2. Like I played 3 for NAIC because I wanted like to more like Iono proof myself, because I was like, if I can Nest Ball Chien-Pao, I'm usually good a lot of times. If I put an energy to retreat, Nest Ball for Chien-Pao usually will just like win me the game. So I wanted to have like enough odds for Bibarel to draw into it, but you don't really need Nest Ball, especially with Pidgeot. I mean, Pidgeot, you're just grabbing Irida every turn. 4 superior energy retrieval, because like the card's broken. I mean, like why wouldn't you play 4? Like again, with the odds thing, you just always want to have it in hand. You probably don't need 4, but like, God, to get like Iono to 2 and one of them's a superior energy retrieval, like you just win the game, right? So we never drop down less than 4. Also, still, I run that 1 regular energy retrieval. Just super well-rounded card. It just kind of goes with everything. Put up to 2 basic energies from your discard in your hand. You can use it at the beginning of the game. You can use it at the end of the game. You can use it mid-game. It's just all-around broken card. Maybe I should run more. I don't know, because I already run 4 SCR. More than 5 retrieval cards seems kind of bad, so maybe I won't. Yeah, moving on to the smaller counts. We got 1 Heavy Ball. Just super, super good card. Like Greninja is just essential to how this deck works. We can usually grab a Frigibax off of this. We can grab Pidgey off of this. And it's good in our opening hand because of that reason. We can Heavy Ball and then Battle Pass for the things that we don't grab. Super, super good in this deck when we just need that extra setup. And also, like if we grab a Frigibax, we can always ensure that we have the 3 Frigibax. 1 Escape Rope, because like an Irida switch target is always amazing. And this is a game-winning card a lot of times. Escape Rope is really, really good when you have such an aggressive deck that takes out so many powerful things. They usually don't really have many powerful things at the end of the game. They're usually setting up their last most powerful thing. And to say, hey, I only have 1 prize left. Your entire bench is 1 prizers. Rope, I win. I don't know how much I actually use this at Pittsburgh, to be honest. I think with Pidgeot, I just didn't really need it. It's also just good, like, turn 1, you don't have like an energy to retreat. You can just Escape Rope, get out of the active. I mainly like it for the Gust effect. I like it as it's like a half cross switcher. You can Irida for it, and it's also only 1 card. Like, I don't know. I don't see like a reason to cut Escape Rope. I don't really think there's a better thing to swap it with. I ran 1 Lost Vacuum to the event. This is for Path, so you pretty much boost your Path outs by 4 because you can always Irida for the Lost Vacuum. My opinion is that it doesn't beat Path. Like, it doesn't single-handedly beat Path. If you play against a deck with Path and Judge, like Miraidon or Arctina, this doesn't win the matchup. Like, it doesn't matter. You may say, okay, well then you can Pidgeot, but you can't Pidgeot because you don't have a Pidgeot. Like, how would you have a Pidgeot if they Path Judge you like turn 1 or 2? That's just not happening, right? So if you have a Lost Vacuum searchable via Irida, you get a Lost Vacuum, great. You're not getting your superior energy retrieval off the Irida, right? You're not getting the cards that you need off Irida. You're just worried about bumping this Path and hoping that you Greninja draw into what you need, right? So against those decks, it's not that good. Against Giratina, it's pretty okay. But yeah, again, I didn't really hit many Path decks. I think the kind of strategy of this deck is just don't play against Path. And if you do, just hope they brick. Like, honestly, like, because even with this card, it's just not good for you. It's just not good for you. I might, moving into Peoria, I might cut this for something else. It's just not the greatest. I don't know. I forgot to mention the Rare Candy. The Rare Candy, there are 4 Rare Candy. This is important. You need that extra Rare Candy for the Pidgeot. If you don't, and you like prize a rare candy, and then you're like, I get Pidgeot, I get Baxcalibur, they go boss backs, you go, I lose because you can't get another Baxcalibur. You don't run to stage 1, so you can't get a Baxcalibur if you get the Pidgeot, right? And so I never wanted to screw myself out of the game. I just want to make sure I have what I need in the deck, right? Because that's the worst feeling in the world, right? You go, oh, I'm just going to get this. Look through your deck, it's prized. And so I never wanted that to happen, where I always wanted the option to get out Pidgeot. Also, if you have this in your hand and you don't need to Irida for it, which is massive, you can use your Irida for Ultra Ball, for Pidgeot, and then again, you can, off of Irida, you also grab the backs and you Pidgeot for Rare Candy. So like there's a lot of lines that open up if you have the Pidgeot on board and you have access to that Pidgeot. Oh yeah, there's one, Canceling Cologne. So this card, I mean, it's just really, really good. I didn't run it for NAIC because I ran a Lost City, and I don't run a Lost City now. So I'll get to the statement in a little bit, but the Canceling Cologne allows us to take multiple prizes against decks that focus on single prizes, which is huge. So we're talking Gardevoir, we're talking Lost Box. You're able to boss Canceling Cologne and take multiple prizes against these decks, which is huge. Against Guardy, it's actually not as hard as you might think. Because we do run the boss's orders instead of cross switchers, it doesn't matter how many times they Iono us, as long as we have a Pidgeot in play. All we need is either the boss or the Canceling Clone, and then we can pitch out for the other one. So we're actually usually always able to get this combo off against Guardy, which just makes Guardy like super favorable. Lost Box is also like they're not playing hand disruption, so you can just boss Canceling Clone, right? And just like kill those comfies. Not able to cross switch your Canceling Cologne like you are with the Pokestop version, but it is just, hey, I'm going to take 2 prize cards and hopefully set up my board so you can't take multiple prizes off of Sableye. All right, so moving on to the Stadium 3, Skater Spark. So this is a card that I did briefly mention in one of my card discussion videos for Chien-Pao. It says, whenever either player's active Pokemon retreats, put their basic energy that would be discarded into their hand. So why Skater Spark? So the reason why Skater Spark is going into the tournament, I wanted to focus on consistency. How do I do the same thing every single game? How do I give myself the most consistent odds to victory? And so Skater Spark is kind of a grab bag of utility. So you can retreat a Frigibax or whatever you start with that's not Chien-Pao into the Chien-Pao while keeping that energy. This is the first use case. You can Skater Spark between Chien-Paos to get extra energy, which is also really, really useful. Basically, my idea behind Skater Spark is that I was on the Pokestop version before this, and when I was testing it, most of my Pokestops, I was like, please, I just want a retrieval. And so if I'm milling myself, if I'm milling the energies to get retrievals, why don't I just keep the energies? Like, why don't I just keep the energies in my hand? I don't have to mill anything. I don't have to risk like hitting a Bax and losing the game instantly. I don't have to risk milling Iridas. I don't have to risk milling anything. There's no stress. There's just no stress, just Skater Spark. You just play a Skater Spark, and then you're just able to like also just always guarantee energy on the board. Like if you Skater Spark and let's say you attack with Chien-Pao, discard your energies, leave like a Greninja on the bench with a water is like a play I like doing. They Iono you, kill the Chien-Pao. The Skater Spark is still in play. You can send up the Greninja and retreat it, and then like put that energy back in hand. It's just so many use cases where you're like, oh man, I just wish I had one more energy, and Skater Spark just gives you the energy. Pretty much gives everything in the deck free retreat also. So again, the Pidgeot has free retreat, but you don't always have that out. So this is just really, really good. Oh, another thing about this card is it allows you to up your card advantage, right? So like if you play an energy to retreat, you are -1 cards from your hand, right? You're playing a water to retreat, and now you don't have a water in your hand. And this deck needs as many cards in its hand as it can possibly get. So even just attaching to retreating is just horrible. Like it is just so bad because you go down 1 card, which you don't want to go down any cards. Like, because you're running stuff like Ultra Ball, your Superior Energy Retrieval, right? You're trying to get out your Pidgeot. And to be honest, there were a few games where I couldn't get out Pidgeot because I was like, I just don't have enough cards in my hand. And maybe if I just had 1 more card in my hand, I'd be fine, right? And that's where the Skater Spark comes in. So even though you do have to play the Skater Spark, you get the energy back into your hand, and you get it back into your hand on future turns as well. So just allowing you to keep the card advantage in your hand is just super, super powerful. To add water energies, I think I saw someone play 9, I think, top 8 Pittsburgh. I guess you don't need 10. I haven't really tested other counts, but it's just like this card is broken. You want a lot of them, but not too many. So yeah, I hope that this video was informative about my thought process surrounding Pittsburgh Regionals. Again, in two regionals this big, I think you should be mainly focused on how do I win games? Not how do I beat this deck, how do I beat this deck, how do I win, right? How do I beat not this deck, but anything, right? Because there's so many people, doesn't matter what percent is playing Maraudon, what percent is playing Lugia, you just want to be able to win, right? And so that's why I want the max consistency. I definitely think that can be better. And so I'm going to work on that and update with you all my findings. And hopefully we can get that one more match point for Peoria. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Again, if you have any questions, any future suggestions for videos, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time.